I'd be like, hey, would you want to spend some time maybe writing with a veteran to help them share what they went through and more get these things off their chest? And they'd some of them say yes, some say no, but I started building up this huge list of #1 and pro songwriters to the point where then I was starting to meet with labels, and then I was starting to meet with like the Opry, Country Music Hall of Fame, all these places to start using our programs. But I got to this point where I met my now wife, and we were just dating at the time. And I looked back and I was like, man, I can't go out and hustle anymore. I can't go to the bar till 3 a.m. and just try to find songwriters. I was like, why isn't there an easier way for me to just be like, hey, this is what we do, and have the people who want to help. And so I looked back at it and I said, and I started researching actually. I was like, there's nothing that connects songwriters. And so when I was out in LA, I was doing another side project, and I was writing with some writers out there who were attached to Universal. And she was like, I'm so jealous of you in Nashville because you can go to any bar and just like throw a rock and like everyone would be like, oh, I'm a songwriter. And so she was like, but here, even being on the Universal Publishing label, I don't meet another songwriter until they connect me. My publisher connects me because there's no places for us to hang out. So I was reflecting on all that, and I went back and I called Kevin up, and like he said, he was on this podcast, Hits Collecting Dust.
You called me fourth.
I don't know, you're probably third, second.
Okay.
You know what? You could even actually been, because I don't remember, you could even actually been first, and then I just called other people to see if they were going to do it. But I called Kevin, and I was just like, hey, I got this idea. I was like, what if we created this app that was kind of like Bumble or Tinder, but for songwriters? So anybody could put on a profile, they could just, once they fly to town and they're going to be a songwriter, all of a sudden they have access to thousands of songwriters just based off their profile, so they can listen to their music. They can already see if they do lyric, top line, what if they play any instruments, because I knew if I was looking for, I'm a hook guy and an architect and a lot of content, but I need a melody person. So I don't know that. If I meet him in a bar and I said, hey, let's write, what if we're both lyricists and we get to a room, we're like, oh crap, we probably should have looked at each other's stuff first. So I called him and I was just downloading him everything that I was thinking about what this app should be, and he was just like, let's do it. And so to have someone who instantly just wants to come on board, because with my nonprofit, that's full time. I'm the executive director of that, been there for 7 years, and I mean, that's my full-time passion, and so I needed someone who was also gonna dedicate their life and have the passion. So Kevin instantly became the CEO, and we started running with it.
Yeah, I mean, when we first started, I had a full-time tech sales job in education, and I think Belmont was one of our clients actually, still is probably. But, so this was like, hey, let's just kind of start the process, see how it goes, and kind of go from there, because it was, when that podcast I was doing with a good buddy of mine, we kept hearing big name artists and songwriters just go, man, like I moved to town, and it was really hard for me to find the right co-writes and the right people that we jive with, and I kept hearing, it was just funny because they're like, songwriting is a lot like dating. It's a lot like dating. It's a lot like. So I kept hearing that over and over again, and like it was almost a week later when he was like, "You'd be like Tinder or Bumble for songwriters," and I was just like, "Holy crap!" I keep hearing the same thing, and the same functionality of our app is what mirrors Tinder and Bumble with the swiping, and it makes a lot of sense just from a profile level. This is getting rid of the rated R stuff on those apps, but this way you vet somebody, right, before you get in a room with them, and the goal is to save time, right? It's to save time finding the right people to write the best songs you can with. And so we took the next 3 hours. I think I ran home and grabbed like this big whiteboard I had from my first, music tech failure, and just started like drawing it out, and he was drawing the profile of what it could look like, and the mock-ups and those things, and I just sent it to a tech buddy of mine that does development, and just, hey, scope this out, how much would it cost, how long would it take, and he came back, and so we started working with them, and then for the next 8 months, it was a lot of, is it okay to just kind of jump into this story? Is it okay? And for the next 8 months, it was great. Like, we set up the LLC and did all the legal paperwork of starting the company, and this is still my side thing. It was my side thing until last July, actually, but we worked with them for 8 months. And every 2 weeks we're meeting with the developer it's also his side thing. He just had a baby and a new house, and so it was one of those like, we didn't know what we were doing. We just knew that we wanted to develop an app for songwriters to connect. And so as we're meeting with them, we're getting pumped, we're seeing designs and mock-ups and what that looks like. And I remember it was a Wednesday, and I get an email about 7 a.m. from the developer, who I actually ended up growing up with, or I grew up with him from Ohio, but he actually lived here in Nashville, and he wrote an email and just said, hey man, like this is the hardest email I've ever had to write, but we can't do your app anymore. And we've paid him thousands of dollars and given up equity to him. And it was one of those just like really, I don't know, like just you can't believe it type moments that you're like wasted 8 months. We spent so much time like getting the designs ready, and now we have to either start over or we're done. Like it's just, what do we do? And so what was nice is having a lot of advisors at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center help us through this process. But we look back now, and that day, that happening was not by far, but I would say the best thing that could have happened to us is having to go through that whole process. And reason being is because the thing with developing apps and those type of things is things crash and break and bugs need fixed and there needs to be updates and there has to be a team behind it on the front end, back end, and all this stuff I'm learning, right? But it was just one of those, man, after 8 months of putting in hard work, effort, nights, weekends, and all that good stuff, you have to start over. And that was one of our biggest learning moments. Was one of our advisors was like, you guys are just doing way too much, like way too early. Like we're trying to do all these cool features and all these things that we're like, oh, people are gonna love this. And they're like, stop it. Like just get out the core functionality of swiping so that songwriters can connect, and then based on user feedback and all those things, then you build out the roadmap from there. So it was one of those moments I look back and I'm just like, man, what do we do? But what's funny is he is a very loyal and has a lot of integrity, that my developer friend, and he gave us back the money and all of the equity, which as we built a startup, he didn't have to. Legally, he didn't have to, but so after we started vetting other development shops, I think we got him like 4 job offers when we told him the story, because I was like, who's that guy? We want to work with him. So yeah, that's kind of I don't know if I missed anything.
No, I mean, yeah, it was just one of those blessings in disguise. Like, you think, because as a songwriter myself, I was like, okay, let's keep people on this app. Let's put like a rhyming dictionary in there. Let's put some set of note system that kind of constantly moves, so when they're done, they can actually like sync to the work tape and record it. And so these things would have cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars. All these things put into once, and so for that whole 8 months, we're getting all psyched about this, and we're talking about putting all these things in there. If we would have went to a straight up developer and they would have just started developing this, it would have never came to market. Like they would have never hit, and so that's why he was saying it is legitimately
It's still being developed.
a huge. I still remember that phone call, and I was so angry because with these things, you have to be first to market. We're the only people doing it right now, and we knew if anybody else caught wind of this, if they had a lot more money, like a lot more songwriters, they could instantly put this out. Not instantly, it'll take a while, but put this out there. And so it was such like a punch in the face. But now looking back at it, it was a huge blessing. Yeah.